My name is Juliana Nykolaiszyn with the Oklahoma State University Library. Today is Saturday, April 18th, 2009, and we're in Stillwater, Oklahoma, interviewing Connie McIlvoy. This interview is being conducted as part of O State Stories, an oral history project of the OSU Library, and today is a very special day. Here at Oklahoma State, the 1959 NCAA Championship basketball team is coming for their 50th year reunion, and we're so happy you could join us.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Great to be here.
We'd like to begin by learning a little bit more about you. If you could start with where you grew up and give us a little background into your early life.
Okay. Well, I grew up, I was born in Lawton, Oklahoma, at the Army base, Fort Sill Army base, but spent most of my time in Oklahoma City. I went to elementary school, middle school, and Southeast High School in Oklahoma City. Graduated in 1955. Came to OSU in 55 and graduated in 59. Didn't play baseball all 4 years. I didn't have a scholarship. I walked on as a senior. And I had earlier walked on the basketball team as a freshman. And I made the team but didn't get to play a whole lot, and so I didn't really continue that. But later on I decided about ready to graduate, I'm going to try to hit the baseball field again, and walked on in 59.
Wow.
My degree was in accounting, and I went to work for what became Exxon about 3 days after the College World Series, and have lived in Houston now for 50 years. I'm not a Texan, though. I'm still an Okie, and I'm a Houstonian, but not a Texan. So.
Well, what motivated you to come to Oklahoma State as opposed to the University of Oklahoma?
Well, that's a good question. I grew up 15 minutes from OU, and throughout high school went to football games and basketball games there. But I just kind of wanted to be a little bit further away from home, and I had followed OSU over the years and visited both the campuses and loved OSU, and decided to come here.
Now, did you play sports in high school?
Well, I played all of them in high school, and basketball and baseball were my best. And I always wanted to play in college, and I was a pretty good high school player, but I just had no athletic scholarship offers. So, but I love sports, and I thought maybe I would have a chance to walk on and at least experience it. And it was a great experience. So I walked on the basketball team and was able to be around Mr. Iba for a year, and that's a wonderful experience, and learned a lot of basketball. But it was obvious I wasn't going to play much, and but I felt that was a possibility for me, and that was another reason for coming here.
First impression of Coach Iba?
Well, just the impression. It was just a wonderful experience. That's what I could say. And what was nice about it, after the freshmen at that time couldn't play on the varsity, so we had our own freshman schedule, but we practiced quite a bit with the varsity, and so I was around and just experienced his style and technique, and I learned a lot. I mean, I thought I knew a lot about basketball, but I had a good freshman coach. Sam Aubrey was our freshman coach at that time, and a wonderful man, and treated me very well as a walk-on. You know, most everybody was scholarship, and he always treated me very, very well, and so that whole experience was good, even though it was just a year.
So you walk on to the baseball team your senior year. Were you in game shape when you decide to?
Well, what had happened, baseball was my favorite sport, and so I continued to play in the summers, and while I was in college, and I played against a lot of college players. A lot of the OSU guys played in Cushing for Kerr McGee had a team up there called Kermac, and I played on a team in Oklahoma City, and we would go up a lot during the summer and play Kermac. And I always felt I could compete with them, but again, there wasn't a good opportunity to get a chance to do that. But after my junior year, the OSU had shortstop and third baseman who were tremendous ball players, signed pro contracts. And those were the two positions I had played. And I thought, well, let's go see if he'll let me come out. And I walked into, Toby Greene was our coach at the time, and I was able to get in and see him. And I was talking to somebody today, and I was trying to think, what did he tell me? He was a man of few words, and he probably just said, "No, come on out," So that's what prompted it. I think had those two guys not left. As it turned out, we had a returning shortstop that had been off in the military and came back. Bob Andrew, who was the brother of our second baseman, Bruce Andrew. And then Jim Dobson was a sophomore that I had forgotten about. He was a third baseman, and I had played against him in high school because we both were from Oklahoma City. And so as it turned out, the positions I thought I had a shot at, that wasn't going to work. But coach moved me to the outfield, and I got to become the starting left fielder and played on a national championship team. It was exciting.
So what was your batting average that year?
Well, I was telling somebody today, my wife kind of smiled, like he'll have the average down to the last thousandths of a point, But I had a good year. I hit .337, and I think I was the second leading batting average player on the team, and then in the College World Series, I hit .429, and I made the all-tournament team, and it was a dream. Who ever heard of a senior walking on and making the team and doing pretty well, and you win the national championship? I used to kid the guys and say, what's the difference in this team this year? Oh yeah, it's that walk-on guy. That made the difference right there. But it was an unbelievable experience.
Well, tell me about the team chemistry. Everybody seems so friendly with each other. Yeah. It's just a nice, cohesive group.
Well, it was a really good group. I mean, I was telling my wife today, they were just genuine people, and we cared for each other. We were almost all of us were Oklahomans. We four of my teammates I had played against in Oklahoma City, so I knew them from the past. Some of the others played against in the summers, and it just was a good group of people. There just wasn't any bad apples on the team. And so it was a really cohesive group, and they pulled for each other. And I felt particularly good because I was not one of them until I was a senior in terms of being on a team here at OSU. And they made me feel at home, and I was part of it.
Tell me a little bit about the baseball facilities back then.
Well, I don't know a lot about what all they have now, but obviously it was pretty trimmed down back then. We played at the same ballpark. I think it was became Allie Reynolds Stadium later, I think in the 80s. And frankly, I don't remember what the field was called back then, but it was in the same location, same basic setup. We didn't have batting cages like they have for batting practice. I don't know what they do and have in the way of training facilities, but back then we really didn't have any. I mean, we didn't lift weights, we didn't do any of those things. It kind of dates me 50 years ago, but the basic layout was the same. And I feel felt right at home over there today, going to the game. I mean, it's different. It's jazzed up a little more. Somebody asked us, was the field that green back then? And the answer was no, it wasn't quite that green. But it was the best field I'd ever played on. When I played in high school, it was all dirt, and all of a sudden we had a grass infield and a grass outfield. So to me, it was like Yankee Stadium playing.
And locker rooms?
Well, we did. We had locker rooms over in Gallagher. At that time, it was just called Gallagher Hall. And so we did have that. None of the equipment, batting gloves and things like that. I used to tell my kids that I said, now, if I'd had batting gloves like you guys do, maybe I would have hit 400. It would have felt so good. So we didn't have anything like that. We were talking today about I had on a jacket that I got when Gary Ward was the coach here, and they had a little get together at 5 years and some of our guys were here. I wasn't here, but they gave them all a cowboy jacket, really a nice jacket. And we were joking about what we had in the way of jackets when we played then, and they were just kind of a old olive drab color windbreaker with our name written on it with like a Mark's lot or something, So things have changed a lot, but we had a great time. We had plenty of equipment.
Now, did you work while you were playing for the team and going to school?
Well, I did in a way. I was in a fraternity here, Lambda Chi Alpha, and so I worked in the kitchen of the fraternity house a couple of years, and then I was treasurer of fraternity one year, and I got paid for doing it. I got my room and board. Room and board was $75 a month, and I got that paid for. And then I was president of the fraternity my senior year, and I got a little stipend there too. And so that was the extent of my job. Interestingly enough, though, they paid all on my room and board, so for 2 or 3 years. And unlike now, or the scholarship guys, I don't know that they have any kind of job they do now, but we'd go over and practice for 2 hours, and I'd go back to the fraternity house and do my thing there, and I could do all of that. Things have changed so much. We didn't do anything in the fall to speak of, and in the spring we would spend a little time down under the in the field house down in the basement, and we had some batting cages down there, but no, I could go to class, I could go practice. We also, generally speaking, only played on weekends. We played half the games they play today, and we would take a trip to Houston before it got warm here, and played Houston and Rice, and that was kind of our road trip. But everything else was weekends, except I think the OU series was beginning of the week. There weren't any weekday games typically like today, so you really had more time.
So how would you travel to away games?
Well, we didn't travel in a very sophisticated way. We went in cars. Whoever could drive, we would drive, and we probably coaches would usually drive a car, and several of the players who had cars would drive, and we'd probably take about 6 cars or so, but we didn't go on the road too much because we didn't play that many games. I think my senior year we went to Colorado and Nebraska and Houston, and then we went to the World Series. We went to a playoff game before that in Peoria, all by car.
Boy, times have changed.
They have changed, yeah.
You mentioned about the batting cages in Gallagher Hall in the basement. Can you kind of describe that setup for us now?
Well, it was just all dirt down there, and somebody today I was talking to said they played football back. Some of our guys played football also, and they remember working out down there, and they were dodging baseballs while they worked out, and it was a pretty good activity down there. We had a couple of cages that you could take batting practice in, and we'd take ground balls and play catch. Wrestlers would be down running and doing things to get in shape, and others would be down. It was just kind of a hodgepodge of people down there.
Wow. So you said Coach Greene was a very soft-spoken man of few words.
Right.
What were your impressions of Coach Greene?
Well, I can't help but have fond memories of him because he let me come out and play, and I'm forever grateful for that. He always treated me well. He didn't say a lot. When he said something, he was pretty upset with you. We were sharing thoughts today about things we heard from him. Some people said, I don't think he spoke 2 or 3 words to me the whole time. So he didn't say very much. But if there was something he didn't like, you knew about it. And I had that experience one time, and I'll never forget it.
Well, tell me about that, please.
Well, we were practicing, and we had a batting cage we put behind home plate. He would always stand right behind home plate, and our pitchers, they were getting their practice in too, throwing batting practice. And Dick Sorgel, who was one of our pitchers, I was a left-handed hitter, and he kept throwing pitches kind of on the inside corner of the plate, and they really would have been strikes, and I kept letting them go. I tended not to be able to pull the trigger on that inside pitch, and so I said, Dick, that's a good pitch. I should have been swinging at that. And there was silence behind the screen, and it happened again. I said it one more time, still silence. It happened a third time, and I said it again. And Toby hollered out, stop! If that's and I won't say the words, that good a pitch, why don't you stand up there and swing at one of them? And he screamed it at me, And it was an experience that I won't forget for this reason. He did that, and there was something it did to me. My adrenaline started pumping or something, and I was not known as a power hitter. And the next pitch over the right field fence, next pitch off the right center field fence. That's the only time in my whole career I hit the ball for any distance. I was a singles hitter, but I will never forget that all of a sudden I had this newfound power because Toby hollered at me. But he was just didn't say a whole lot, and he made a speech a short speech, of course, because he was a man of few words after the World Series to the crowd, and said this team has made an old man very proud, and he had told us one other time that he thought his 55 team, I think it was, should have done it, should have made it, didn't make it, and we weren't predicted necessarily to do that well. Our starting lineup, we had great pitchers. We had Joel Horland, Don Sorgel, and Roy Peterson, 2 of which were seniors, so it was their last year, and Dick was a junior. But our catcher was a sophomore, first baseman was a sophomore, second baseman was a sophomore, third baseman was a sophomore, shortstop was a junior. I played left field and had never played college ball. Ben Bancroft played center field, and told me today, I asked him if he had played much he was a junior, if he played much as a sophomore, and he said, I came to bat 16 times is all. So he didn't play much. And then Tim Greene played right field, same thing. So we didn't have a team that had a lot of college experience. And but we had really good pitching, and then things just came together. And we were ranked number 2 in the country going in to the playoffs, and Southern Cal was number 1. And right at the time the playoffs were about to start, they were found to have an ineligible player, and they had to forfeit a lot of games and could not represent the West. Fresno State ended up representing, and then at the end of the season we were ranked number 1. But so we came from not being expected to do that much to there.
At the start of that season, did you guys think you could compete for a national title?
Well, I certainly had no idea. I mean, I was new on the block, new kid on the block. And I think I really believe the pitching staff knew what they were capable of. They were very, very, very good. And so they probably had quite a bit of confidence that we could do well. Excuse me. But the rest of us were all kind of new. And you really didn't know back in those days, you really didn't know a lot about your competition. You know, today they have scouting reports. We didn't really know a lot about them. And so it was kind of hard to say. We went to Houston for the first 4 games of the year, and Rice beat us, and Rice really didn't have that good a ball club. And so you couldn't really tell. But things just came together. And we played, we had good pitching and good defense and good timely hitting, you know.
Well, tell me about some of the players you recall that made outstanding contributions during the season or in other ways that just really stand out in your mind.
Well, I mean, first of all, the pitchers all stand out. In fact, Joel Horland, who was one, Joe's interviewing now, but Joel was an All-American. He had such a good year. He was voted to the All-American team, went into and played Major League Baseball for 13 years, 2 World Series teams and an All-Star team. He was just excellent. He was as smooth as silk. He just knew how to pitch. Roy Peterson was very aggressive and very confident, and then Dick, all of the pitchers stand out. In fact, Dick played at Capitol High School, played all the sports at OSU. He was a 3-sport player for 3 years and a starter all 3 years. And he had never lost a game as a pitcher from, I think, his junior year in high school all the way up to the College World Series, and lost his first game in the College World Series that he had ever lost as a pitcher. So those all stood out. And then we had 2 power hitters, and Jim Dobson and Ben Bancroft, who could win a ball game for you with a home run. We had excellent defense at first base and second base. All the defense was good, but second baseman Bruce Andrew was superior, as was the first baseman. And it's hard to say. I mean, the people that got the honors ultimately were people like Joel Horland was an All-American, Ben was an All-American, Jim Dobson was voted the most valuable player of the College World Series, and so those can't help but stand out. But it was just a really good bunch, and a lot of talent.
Any favorite memories during the regular season that just stand out for you as a player?
Well, I think probably my own experience. Are you talking about something I was involved
Yes.
in, or? I can remember 2 experiences that jump out right away. Again, I'd walked on, so that was in itself was kind of unusual. And we had just gone to Colorado and played a 3-game series and came back, and the O'Calley, we call it, I don't know if they still call it that, had this story about us sweeping the series. McIlvoy leads the team hitting .395, and I looked at that and I said, what's happening here? This can't be happening to me like this. And then I went into a slump. so reality set in, but I remember at that point, and it helped that the editor of the O'Calley was a fraternity brother of mine. So from kind of a general experience, that hit me, and I thought, I can't believe that I'm getting to do this and doing fairly well. And then in the College World Series, one particular thing that stands out, we were in the finals, and Bruce Andrew, our second baseman, had a bad series hitting. He was a good hitter and just got in a slump during the series, but he was such a good defensive player that he made the all-tournament team. And we were tied going into the ninth inning, and I'm pretty sure it was the ninth. And somebody got on, and Bruce hit a triple and tied it up. And they changed pitchers, and they brought a left-handed pitcher in. Well, I was a left-handed hitter, and I was not a very good hitter off left-handed pitching, and so Coach came out of the dugout. I started walking back here. That was it for me. And he said, I want you to stay in. And I was a pretty good bunter, and he said, I want you to stay in, and on the second pitch, we're going to squeeze. We're going to squeeze that runner in from third. And so I thought, well, I think I could bunt off a left-hander. I just couldn't hit a left-hander very good, and so we were able to exercise the squeeze play. He scored, and it gave us a 2-run lead. So we got a little bit of cushion, and then we held him in the Dick pitched the ninth, and we held him. So it wasn't a base hit; it was just a bunt at the right time. I was, as I said, not good against left-hand pitcher, and I later moved to Houston when I graduated, and was in the church I belonged to. I spotted a fellow that had pitched for the University of Houston, and he was a left-hander. And when we played them, he just wore me out. I mean, I think that's when the coach said, this McIlvoy kid is not going to do too well against left-handers. And I saw him in church, and I walked up and introduced myself, and I said, you don't know me, but his name is Charlie Peepers. But I said, Charlie, you ruined my career in baseball, striking me out 3 times against University of Houston. So those are a couple of the things I remember. And a great experience. Well, I got to say one more against OU. We had the bases loaded and 2 outs, and I was at the plate, and I hit a real high, kind of a pop fly, but it was into short right center field, and it was 2 out, and the count was 3-2. So all the runners were moving on the pitch, and they all scored on my little blue pop-up into right center field. And later, Toby Greene was being interviewed before we went into the playoffs, and he was saying we've played good ball, we've had some breaks. He said this kid I picked up off the intramural field got this banjo hit against OU and scored 3 runs. So he said, things are going right when that happens. So I can't forget that one. And against our hated rival anyway.
I read the whole intramural field before coming down here today, and I'm like, surely he wasn't just playing IM baseball, before walking onto the team.
No. I played intramural stuff here, but not baseball. But I played baseball in the summer, and it's still like a dream to me that it happened the way it did.
Back then, was the College World Series a big deal like it is today?
It was in Omaha for sure. Nowhere near the crowds as they have today, but we were treated like kings. I mean, it was just like I'm sure they do today. We had a sponsor there. It was the Junior Chamber of Commerce. They would bring us out if we didn't have a game one evening. A couple of times they brought us out for cookouts, and we had a parade through downtown Omaha before the series started, and we just got really treated well. And I know it's the same way now, but the difference is the crowds. We played in the same place they play now, but it's much enlarged, and they'll have 25 or 6 or 7,000 at a lot of the games, and we only had I think 4,200 in the finals. but it was a smaller park, and you still felt like a big crowd was there. And we would have little kids come down and want an autograph, and that sort of thing. We'd never been through that sort of thing before, but it was really a wonderful experience, and just like it is today. Yeah, I think it was only about it really makes me realize how old I am. It was only, I think, about maybe the 14th or 15th World Series that, in fact, the former President Bush Sr. played for Yale in the College World Series. I think the very first one, if I'm not mistaken, and we weren't too far down the road.
Well, it seems like it was just a great atmosphere to play there.
Oh yeah.
Were there a lot of OSU fans in attendance?
Not too many. We had some people that lived up in that area that were there, but not like it would be today, I'm sure. So there's a lot more pizzazz around it today than there was back then. But we had some, and then the Omaha. Most of the fans were Omaha people, and they would tend to begin to favor one team or the other, So we felt we had good support.
You mentioned a couple of special moments from both the regular season and the playoffs. Do you have any special memories of the College World Series that just really stand out in your mind?
Oh, yeah, one for sure. And I talked Lou Wade. Did you talk to Lou Wade today? He was leaving when I came in, but Lou, we were playing Penn State, and we had already lost one game of the World Series to Arizona, and so we were in the losers bracket, had to come back up, and we'd already beaten Penn State once, but they were coming up also, and they were ahead of us 3-1. And I think I've got this story straight in my memory. I'm almost sure it was in the 9th inning. We were behind 3-1. Lou came up and pinch hit and got a base hit to right field. And I don't remember exactly who was coming up next, but we ended up scoring a run. We were behind by 2 runs. We scored a run, and it closed the gap 3-2. And 2 outs, and I can't remember now who hit it, but somebody hit a ground ball to the third baseman. It should have been the 3rd out, and we're out of the World Series and would have lost 3-2. He bobbled the ball, made a bad throw to first, and we had 2 runs score, and we won 4-3, and then we went ahead and won it all. So I got to say that was probably one of the big things that I remember, because we were just on the verge of being out.
And how many games did you play in?
I think we played 5. We played 2 and 1, and I mean we won our first 2. Arizona won their first 2. We had to play each other in the winners bracket. They won. We lost. That was 3 games. We had to go down and no, I think we played 6, because I think we had to go down and win 2. To finally get back to play Arizona in the finals.
And were you on the roster for all of the games?
Yeah, well, I was on the roster. I didn't play in one of the games with the left-hander throwing.
Okay.
So,
well, that was probably a smart coaching move.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. I tell people all the time I love to play golf, and I said there's only one other thing harder to do than play golf, and that's to hit a left-hander's curveball.
So tell me about that championship game against Arizona.
Well, they had beaten us the first time, but a real close game. I think it was 4-3, and their pitcher for that game was one of their best pitchers, but I felt he was not that difficult to figure out. I mean, he threw pretty hard, but not real hard. The person that threw against us in the finals really could bring it. I mean, he could really bring it, and I hit second in the lineup, and he struck me out the first time, and I remember coming back to the dugout saying, I hardly saw those pitches. I mean, he was really throwing hard, and so I remember that real clearly. And generally, I could get around on the ball pretty good and pull it. I didn't swing late that much, but I got one hit in that game, and it was a ground ball right down the third baseline. So I swung pretty late, and I still don't know for sure how I hit him. And but fortunately, we all were having trouble with him. And but we scratched around and picked up a run here and there, and then he was replaced somewhere along the line. I think was relieved, and if I'm not mistaken, Jim Dobson hit a 2-run homer and got us back in the game. But it was tied going into the end, so it was a real close, tight game all the way. And they had a really good ball club, and they played about twice as many games as we did. Arizona and California teams tended to play a lot, and it was just a well-pitched game. And the other really important thing about that final game, because we didn't play a lot of games, our 3 main pitchers, starting pitchers, nearly pitched complete games nearly every game. So our other pitchers really didn't get to pitch a lot. But in the College World Series, you're playing just about every day, and you've got to have a little more depth than that. And so we ended up starting a left-handed pitcher named Toby Bensinger, who I played against in high school. He was from Midwest City, and he had not pitched probably in 3 months. I mean, he had stayed in shape, and he had thrown batting practice. But because our starters tended to go all the way and we didn't play that many games, he didn't get to pitch. And he pitched about just short of 4 innings and really did a great job. He deserved so much credit for that game, and held them, and it was 3-3, and then Dick Sorgel came in, and as I mentioned earlier, he had lost first game in his career against Arizona, and he got credit for the win in the second game. But that is a real key part of that final, that Toby Bensinger came in and did so well after not having pitched a whole lot. And other than that, it was just a well played game all the way around. I think we had, I'm biased obviously, but I really do think we had a really fine ball club. In fact, that year we lost 2 seniors, pitchers, and I was a senior and Tim Greene was a senior, but we had all these sophomores and we had a lot of freshmen, and they went real far in the World Series the next 2 years, and so it was a good nucleus that they had, kept coming back, and just a good bunch of guys and a good ball club. But it was an exciting game, for sure.
And all tournament team honors for you?
I'm sorry?
All tournament team honors for you?
I got named to the all tournament team. I had no idea. We were walking off the field, and Bob Dellinger, who was the sports editor of the Daily Oklahoman in Oklahoma City, came up, put his arm around me, and he said, "I want to show you something here. You got named to the all tournament team." So it just it was a great way to finish, my baseball career. I'd always wanted to play pro ball, and but the scouts, I think, really felt I didn't have that potential. I had no power, no speed, and no arm. I didn't have any of the things they were looking for. But to get that honor was, I always have that with me, and it was such a shock, to have it happen. I think we had 4 people named to the all tournament team, and Jim Dobson was the most valuable player, also. So,
do you remember the trophy presentation in Omaha?
Yeah, I remember a little bit about it. It was pretty low key. It reminded me. My wife and I went through the Heritage Hall Museum. I think that's the right name. And today, and looking at the baseball section, and it was not a dominating trophy or anything, but it was a nice presentation, and it was great to win it, obviously for all of us, but for the coach who was older and retired just a few years after that, and but it was a pretty low key kind of presentation.
Any other members of the coaching staff that just stand out in your mind?
Well, Toby Greene was the head coach. He didn't do as much hands-on with a lot of us. I think he did more of that with the pitchers. But Freddie Babb, who had played before, helped some of the coaching, but I think if you compare that time to now, from a coaching standpoint, it's quite different, because you do have, I'm sure OSU now has a pitching coach and probably a hitting coach, and I don't know how many coaches they have. We really didn't have that many coaches. It was the kind of thing that we sort of brought with us what we had, but you'd get some pointers along the way, and I got help from Freddie in the outfield because I'd never played the outfield before, so that was a plus. But there was more. It was just much more low key than today, for sure. My youngest son played at Bel Air High School in Houston, and it was a baseball school. The other sports weren't that good, but baseball was top notch. And they spent more time practicing, and they played many more games than we ever did. And I remember talking to the head coach one day, and I said, Ray, I played in a major college baseball program, and I didn't spend half the time you guys spend. And so that gives you kind of a compare. But that's the way it is in all the sports now. A lot more hands-on coaching, a lot more training, a lot more weightlifting and all of that. And we just sort of played.
What would you do if you got injured?
Well, we had Byron Bird was our trainer, and so he was there for all the games and helped us with things like that. But I never had to have any special training things. It is funny that we talk about it here, that it was more we got out and played, and yet we had a really, really good team.
Well, have you stayed in touch with your teammates over the years?
Well, not often. I haven't been up in this area. I'm in Houston, so I don't naturally see everybody. But we've gotten together. We got together at 10 years, and in our 40th year, we were inducted as a team into the Hall of Honor, Athletic Hall of Honor. So we had we were here for that. And then, of course, now the 50th year. So that's been primarily it. I sometimes, when I've come up, when I still had family here, my mother and dad, I'd give Dick Sorgel a call and kind of reminisce a little bit. But it hadn't been an ongoing thing because we're not up here that much for sporting events and that sort of thing.
How special is this reunion for you this weekend?
Oh, very, very much. Very special. The whole experience was so good, and we were a close-knit group, and it's just been I've really been looking forward to it. In fact, I didn't know it was going to happen, and I wanted to organize a 50-year celebration if there wasn't going to be anything, and I had called and ended up talking to Jason and the Posse Club, and he told me that something was being planned, and I knew that a couple of months ago, and I've really been looking forward to it the whole time. It's been it's been well organized, and we've had plenty of time reminisce and share stories, and it's just been really special.
Well, in your opinion, how has college baseball changed over the years?
Well, when I watch the games, and I'll go to college games in Houston quite a bit, and if OSU's down there, I always go. I don't think it's changed all that much. The big change in college baseball is the aluminum bat, because we played with a wooden bat, and which makes, I think, the power hitting that a couple of these guys did even more special with a wooden bat. So the aluminum bats made I think a big difference. I think I think there's more hitting, and probably better batting averages, more runs scored. I mean, we had an awful lot of low-scoring games. Mm-hmm. We had a few that weren't, but most of them were pretty low-scoring. So I think that's changed, probably more than anything else. But baseball is a game to me that doesn't change all that much. And I was at OSU played in a regional tournament in Austin. It's probably been 10, 12, 15 years ago. And I went up for it, and Bill Platt, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Bill Platt was he was a radio announcer, or radio guy, sports guy at KSPI in Stillwater, and he would travel to our games and broadcast the games back. And so he was there, and I went up and I said, Bill, let me ask you something now. The game doesn't look like it's changed that much to me. And I said, now give me your totally unbiased opinion. Could we compete with these guys today? He said, oh yeah, you could compete. So it made my day. So I don't really think it's changed that much, but except for the equipment's different, the bats anyway, and probably they do a lot more physical training things than we did.
Well, could you share with us what happened after graduation? What did you go on to do?
Well, I left. We came back from Omaha and in our cars, and we had they had announced that we'd be coming back, so we had a lot of people here, and it was kind of special driving in. I had gotten married a week or so before that, before the World Series. We had a little break between the end of school and so I went back to Oklahoma City, and in 2 days we had everything we owned in a car driving off to Houston. And I'd gone to work for a company there, Humble Oil and Refining Company, which later became Exxon. And so my experience since then is being in Houston, working there. I remarried about 9 years ago, and we have 6 children between us and a bunch of grandchildren. So, and some of the grandchildren are getting up. I have one playing high school baseball and another one in track, and so we're doing some of those kind of things. But I was with Exxon for about 30 years, and I retired early and wanted to do other things. I wanted to have more flexibility in my life, and it turned out not quite that way, because I started a business with another guy, and we worked harder than ever probably. But we did a lot of work for Exxon, and I still do some consulting there. I'm going to say 2 or 3 days a week. My wife will say more like 5 days a week, but it kind of comes and goes. And so my life has been a career in the oil and gas industry, and I would help coach kid teams, when my kids came along, and always followed OSU sports. I mean, I really do bleed orange, as my wife would say. As I tell my UT friends, I bleed bright orange, not that dull burnt orange, and really follow the team, but not in person a lot, because we haven't been up here that much. But if they're playing down our part of the country, I'll usually go to the games, and still just love to follow the athletics up here. So that's been it. I've had a wonderful life, and and this experience is clearly one of my all-time favorites. When I retired from Exxon, I had a good friend from OU that was working there too. He was one of the assistant controllers, and I was manager of the information systems group. And we did a lot of things together. Went to lunch together a lot and all that. He wrote a letter in my retirement book, and he said, I really don't know what we're going to do without you here, because we're going to miss those tales of exploits, how you led OSU single-handedly to the national championship. So I talked about it a lot, I guess, but it was such a wonderful experience, and that I'll certainly never forget. In fact, I've got a scrapbook at home that I've got some of the games, some of the articles. I've got a lot of the final stuff, and my goal is to see if I can find all of the old write-ups from my senior year and try to put together something that I could reproduce, for the team, or maybe it could be used up here. I'm just missing a lot of games, so I want to do that.
Well, we spoke about, kind of got a glimpse into your time with your time at OSU and serving as a walk-on during the '59 season. And is there anything else that you would like to mention that we have not spoken about today?
Well, I don't think so. My whole experience here was good. I love going to school here, and I think from the baseball standpoint, we probably covered the key experiences that I remember from that time. So I'm probably drained of that. Any more tidbits?
Well, we appreciate you spending your time with us this afternoon, and welcome back to campus, and enjoy the rest of your reunion.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I've
you.
enjoyed doing it.